Hello, my name is Michael Laufer, and this is my submission for Lab 2, Private Island. So I won't take as much time as I did last week, as I kind of rambled on a little bit about the two things I added, a little too in-depth, I think, so I'm going to kind of try to keep it a little more short and simple for the graders out there. So last week I had a pretty good starting point that I could build off of for this lab. I modeled the water texture that kind of does this cool uh, diffusion thing. As it gets deeper, it gets darker kind of thing. Um, so this was nice because I could just extend the plane that I had from last week and model those two islands out of that. But the two cool things I worked on this week were these kind of blades of grass, which I modeled very poorly, in case you couldn't tell. But the cool thing I'm going to show first is they actually wiggle in the wind. So this is how I have it set up. It's using just a simple grass wind node, which goes into the world position offset. So those are pretty cool. And then, the actual material itself is very lackluster. It's just a yellow-green. So for wind intensity and wind weight, I tried initially to make the weight a little cooler, where it kind of would be stronger at the top of the blade of grass and weaker at the bottom, using kind of like yeah, it was kind of just difficult to set up, and I opted not to do that. I just opted for a simple parameter. I think it looks okay. In the future, I may want to revisit that. But the wind intensity, all that stuff is kind of very simple. And then we have here, we have the wind direction and wind intensity, same parameter being used in two places. Uh, But yeah, that kind of just goes into this little note at the bottom. I had to read the documentation a little bit for this. I still don't kind of fully understand what's going on. The wind intensity and weight I got for sure, but yeah, it's a little tough. Anyway, I think it's pretty cool. I used that for foliage and kind of just painted the islands with a little bit of grass. And with the wind, I think it kind of like adds some nice diversity and livens things up a little bit. So the second thing I worked on was actually making a modifier to the third-person player character class, which is in here. So I decided I wanted to have some way to kind of set up the groundwork for interacting with objects in the world, so I kind of made this grabbing system. So it's kind of doing a raycast from the camera. So it's a follow camera since it's a third person, and then it's extending like 700 units and kind of just checking to see if it hits something. If it does, it's going to grab that hit component and kind of have it follow the camera's raycast again, kind of deal. I'm using this kind of variable here that allows me to not just like on an initial key press from E, it's going to hold it this in this loop. So it's using an event tick, and as long as I haven't released it yet, which kind of comes down into this branch and sets it back to false. So as long as I'm holding down the key, it will continuously update the position like we had before, using that same kind of raycast. So that is that. So let me show you in action. Um, it's pretty cool. I just set up these nice conveniently placed blocks over here. They're all having simulated physics and all have collisions based off of, I think, the player actor. I would have to double check that. Anyway, so I'm going to grab one of them, and you can see I could kind of like make it fall around my camera, um, knock it into other things, stack them if I could see. The grass is kind of in my way, but you get the gist. I can move them around, pick one up, kind of chuck it, but it's some pretty cool stuff. This would kind of set up, ways to have the environment more interactable. Of course, it's not not a perfect system. Kind of, it directly goes to 700 units away from the camera, so that can phase it through other blocks, or I say blocks, but I mean other props. So that is now just in the depth. But overall, pretty cool, simple system. Allows you to have a little bit of fun with the world. Okay, that's my submission. Thanks for watching.